Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today we are doing another tumbler and we're going to play with some alcohol inks. Now, I've got my tumbler, I've already sanded it, I have spray painted it with some Rust-Oleum black chalkboard paint, and I am using Let's Resin epoxy resin to start off with. Now, I mixed up 30 milliliters and I am putting a little bit into two separate little pots to mix up. One, I'm going to use some of Let's Resin's thermochromic powder in the green, cyan, yellow, whatever one it is. And then the other one is going to be for a tiniest bit of ocean white pigment paste in there. And we're going to see what we can do. Now, the alcohol inks that I'm using are Let's Resin's orange, brown, or orange, blue, and magenta. And we're going to kind of play around with it. I want to know if you can get any of the effects from the thermochromic powder, and that, like, if it's actually going to change color on the tumbler through the various layers of resin. Now, I'm not sure, and I'm not doing a lot, so really, it's not necessarily a fair experiment, but we're going to try it anyway. Now, the first thing that I'm doing is making a huge mistake. I should have learned after my last tumbler, but I did not, that the normal Let's Resin epoxy resin, while it's an amazing resin and I absolutely love it, is not the right resin for this particular job. You want a thicker resin. And why I keep choosing to do this to myself, I don't know. I guess I'm a glutton for punishment. Like, I really truly don't know, but I did, and now I will have to pay the consequences for making such a decision. I think in part the reason why I chose it is when you use alcohol inks and resin, like, not tumbler related, just normally, right? You want something that's going to flow and move for a long period of time to get the effects of the alcohol inks, right? So I think somewhere in the back of my brain, that's why I picked it, in part because I want the time for these alcohol inks to be able to move and get some neat designs and whatever. So I think that's why I chose it, because the 4-hour cure by Let's Resin is what I used on my daughters, with the exception of the first one, the first layer of resin, and it worked fantastic. Like, no problems whatsoever. But in my head, I'm like, but I need it to move longer so that the alcohol inks flow and whatever. And I think that's why I chose it, like, subconsciously, but not thinking the fact that I'm going to have issues with it later because it's not the right resin for the right job, right? So now I'm going in and I put the magenta down first. Now I'm going in and dropping some blue in. Then I'm going to hit it with the orange. And the colors are not necessarily my first choice. The colors that my son picked, so I'm going to go with it and just kind of do the best that I can. Now, I know most people, when they do the alcohol inks, they just drop the white straight onto it, like white alcohol ink, not the pigment paste. But I had seen another video and I kind of like the effect of the swirly white, so I was hoping that I would kind of get that same effect here. Not so much happening. I don't know if it's me being impatient or if, because the resin is so thin, and I do have quite a bit that dripped off on the bottom, like underneath the cup that you can't necessarily see right now. I don't know. I don't know. But I'm going to keep on keeping on with it. Now, right around this point, I start to notice fish eyes. And again, mind you, this is only the second tumbler that I've ever done, so fish eyes really hasn't been an issue I've had to deal with. Now, hindsight being what it is, and it's 2020, here I'm trying to, as I see them, add the resin onto it, hoping that it will fix it. Now, I do know that they can come from oils from your skin or dirty spots or whatever on the cup. I don't think that's the issue here. And the reason I don't think that is because after I sanded it, I did clean it with alcohol. I spray painted it. and then let it dry, and nobody touched it in between. So I don't think that that's the issue. I think the issue is the resin being too thin and kind of running off the cup and not having enough on there to do what needs to be done. And the alcohol inks, you know, because when you drip them on, it kind of makes it watery. I think that's what's kind of pushing the resin away from it and why I'm getting the fish eyes. Now, from what I have learned since doing this, is at this point, before the resin has cured, what I should have done is cleaned all this resin off. Like, just scrapped it all, right? I mean, it's only 30 milliliters of resin. That's not much when you're taking into account, you know, other items that you can make with resin. Like 30 milliliters isn't anything. I should have just scrapped it, cleaned it off with alcohol, let it do its thing, repainted it if I needed to, do whatever, and then started over. But I didn't. I decided I'm just going to keep pushing through and hopefully maybe it'll work out. Okay. So I added more color because I'm not getting the color that I want to come out. Adding more white. I'm going in and adding the rest of the... I will go in here in a minute and add the rest of the green and trying to just, as I'm seeing these spots, kind of touch them and get the resin to cover them, and just hoping that maybe magically, magically, they'll fill themselves in and I won't have a problem when this is dry. And then I'm going to choose to hit it with a heat gun to thin the resin out more because that's the smart thing to do. Really, I just wanted it to move so you can really, so these colors start blending more. But all I'm doing is just heating it up and making it thinner and losing more of the resin off of here so that I can have more issues tomorrow to deal with as opposed to what I have. Yeah, see, I'm trying to fix it. I'm trying. It's not working. Anyway, learn from me. You can very easily at this point fix it. Just stop it and fix it. And don't do what I did. But if you decide that you want to be like me and a glutton for punishment, then I can kind of show you how to fix it too, I guess. Or at least what worked for me anyway. So I'm just going to keep playing here and get all the resin out of these containers that I can possibly get and see what happens. Okay, so this is me showing you all the freaking fish eyes that I've got. And I'm going to go in here with 180 grit sanding block and I'm going to start sanding. Now, here's mistake number 2. Because layer of resin at this point was so thin, because it is a thinner viscosity resin, there's not a lot of resin for me to sand down. I only have the one coat on here. I should not have sanded it at this point. I know that. But I did. And things happened, such as I sanded too far, and I sanded off some areas of spray paint, especially down on the bottom, like around that edge on the very bottom part. You can already see some of the white showing through because these are white tumblers. They're actually for sublimation. And then up at the top where I sand, you can see the white there too. So I'm not going to go and I'm not going to go respray paint it. Now, I do know that you can soak your cup in acetone, put paper towels around it in a Ziploc bag and leave it set for, I don't know, 24 hours or something like that, and you can clean off the resin. I do know that. I have watched a video on that. My son liked it, so he wanted me to keep on with it. So I did. So I sanded it down the best I could. Okay, now this time I'm using Let's Resin's 4-hour demold, and I'm going to do the same thing. Now, typically you don't see people going back on the second layer with color. I am, because I have all this ugly white that's showing. Now, could I have probably put some acrylic paint on in those areas? Yeah, I probably should have. It would have hid them better. But I was hoping that I'd be able to do that with the resin that I'm putting on here. So, you know, this video is going to show you a whole lot of things of what not to do. Struggles for beginners who are learning how to do tumblers, right? Like, all you out there that do tumblers and you do these gorgeous, beautiful tumblers, whatever, you didn't not go through this. Everybody goes through this. They're growing pains, right? You don't mess up, or you just don't do everything perfectly from the get. Like, you've got to mess up in there too, otherwise you're never going to learn. So here you have it. But I am going in with this, and I'm putting a nice thick layer. Now, I did mix up another 30 milliliters because of the issues that I have, and I sanded it down, but it's not completely smooth yet. I'm hoping that the resin that I put on here will kind of fill some of those areas that's kind of lumpy and bumpy and not 100% smooth, that it'll fill them up. And maybe, obviously, I'm putting the alcohol inks in this one. I'm definitely going to have to do at least one more layer, maybe two, but maybe by the time I get to that point, I'll have it smooth enough that you can't tell that there's all the fisheyes in here to begin with. So I'm just adding all of the resin to it. And then I'm going to go and I'm going to mix my white. I'm going to mix the thermochromic powder, and we're going to drop some more inks. Now, the way it looks in as the end result, it's kind of a mess, but it's kind of cool at the same time. Because, like, you can tell the different layers. Like, there's actually depth to the cup where the colors are. You can see this color is jumping over top of that color. So it kind of makes it cool. I don't know. No, I do know. I would never do this again. If my son didn't want this like it was, I would never do it this way again. As far as doubling up on the colors and stuff like that. Like, it's just not my, I guess, cup of tea. Like, did it turn out cool? Yeah. But is it something that I would want to recreate? Not necessarily. And especially not with the issues that I had. I had so much sanding to do, and I hate sanding so much. Like, you don't even know how much I hate sanding. It's not what I want to do, ever. Alright, so we've mixed our colors, dropped them on. No, I didn't. I did the white first this time. Now I'm going to drop them on because I seem to have better luck getting the colors to actually show when I put the white on first for some reason. So I'm going to go in with the white, go in with the colors, go in with some white again, and then we're going to go in with the green. Now, I know it looks like a mess. It does kind of turn out cool. I am going to rotate it and kind of lift it up and down, and I don't know, maybe I'm not holding it enough. I'm still, kind of scared on what to do and all of that good stuff. And now I decided that I am going to add some more green, and I'm kind of focusing a lot on the areas where the white is poking through, where I sanded it too far down. I'm trying to put color over there so it doesn't look quite so bad. Now, there is a lot of white, so it does kind of hide it somewhat, but not enough. That's kind of why I'm globbing in the white towards the top and the bottom to kind of hide it a little bit more. And then I decide, because it kind of looks like my life. Like a paint splattered mess. But I decided that I wasn't getting the movement that I wanted, so I'm going to kind of go in and just with one finger kind of swipe it up at a curve and then change the rotation of the cup and go down in the same way. So it kind of has some movement going up and down on a curvature. And I'm just going to leave it and kind of not leave it, obviously, because I just grabbed the resin again. But you know me, once I'm done fiddling and I get every bit out that I can, that's it. Okay, so I did sand it again. The majority of the fisheyes were gone. It still wasn't 100% completely level. Like, it still had some peaks and valleys in there a little bit, but it was way, 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 way better than the first go around. So I sanded the hell out of this thing, like to the point where my hands and arms were numb and hurt because it was just, a whole thing. And it's fine. It's fine. And now I'm going in with another 30 milliliters of the same resin, the fast cure resin from Let's Resin, and I'm just going to kind of go over it. I did add, was it this layer? I went over it 2 more times with resin. One of them I added a little bit of the Rolio Pearl White in for just some sparkle effects, just to kind of peek through. I only put the tiniest little bit in there, but that might have been the last layer that I did that on. Which is probably the wrong thing to do too, but I did it because I'm a rebel like that. No. But seriously, I did go in with 2 more layers. This is the second one. I did not sand in between the third and the fourth layer. It was pretty much done, but I did... Oh, here it is. Yeah, so I did put it in on the last little bit. And I'm just gonna be done with it. Like, it's pretty much where it needs to be. It is... Actually, I'm pleasantly surprised that I really don't have any peaks and valleys in it anymore. It smoothed itself out. So it did work in the end, which I'm super happy about. I would have been a lot happier if, I didn't take off that spray paint during that first bout of sanding, but it is what it is. My son loves it, so that's all that really matters in the end, and I was able to overcome the fisheyes. So everything's all nice and done. Now it's just a matter of cleaning out the inside of the cup from the resin, which is easy enough to do with just a craft blade going around it, just scraping off any bits and pieces of resin that are in there, and then taking a little bit of acetone on a paper towel and wiping out the inside from spray paint and all that gross stuff that, finds its way in there, and then washing it, and that's it. All right, guys, that is a wrap on this one. Like, subscribe, share, all that fun stuff, and I will catch you guys on Saturday in the next one. I'm super looking forward to it. I think it's going to turn out really, really cool. Anyway, I will catch you guys then. Love ya. Bye.